Hello, YouTube. This is Barbara Jean again. I'm just going to finish what I said. I got cut off. I apologize for that. Um, what I was saying before, when I was finishing up what was happening in the book of Revelation, uh, Jesus had just thrown in the dead, um, the excuse me, didn't show, threw in the uh, false prophet and the beast into hell, okay, alive. And I wanted to finish reading in the book of Revelation, and it says that those who were beheaded reign with Christ for 1,000 years. Okay, so they take part, they are living, they take part in this first resurrection after the return of Christ to the earth for the 1,000-year reign. And it says in Revelation 20, verse 6, Blessed and holy is he that is part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, so there's a time on the earth, 1,000-year reign, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So Satan is different, separate entity from the beast and the false prophet. He goes and he deceives the world. So there will be people who will be on the earth at this time. And he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog. So this is the Gog and Magog war, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sands of the sea. So there is a great number of people who are now alive, not the saints, but nations on the earth who are thriving at the time of Satan's second or release from prison. And he goes to deceive the nations. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about. So the nations of the earth are now surrounding the camp or the holy city in Jerusalem, where the saints are reigning with Christ for 1,000 years. And the says and the beloved city. So this is Jerusalem. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Okay, so this is another death. This is another war that's going on here. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So this is when Satan is finally and once and for all sent to his final judgment. And I saw a great white throne and him that sat on it, from whose face, excuse me, that's my dryer, whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead. So here's another group of people, another group of dead people, okay? Not living people, but dead people, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to his works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. And then comes, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So this is another resurrection of sorts. It's a resurrection of the dead. In all the previous resurrections, it was a resurrection of the living, or those who are in God in Christ Jesus. First, after Christ, there was a resurrection when he rose from the dead. There was also the resurrection and translation of the saints at that time, of many who, it says in Matthew that they were released from the tombs and witnessed in the cities. Okay, at that time they were also translated. There was a rapture there. Then there is the resurrection and rapture of those who are um, alive at the first coming of Christ in the clouds. There is a resurrection and a rapture there. Then there is a resurrection, just a plain resurrection, not a rapture, but a resurrection of those who are beheaded. So there is another resurrection there. But they are also in Christ. Every last one of these examples of are resurrections of those who are in God, who are in Christ. They are then resurrected. Then there is another resurrection at the end of all of this of the dead, those who are going to be judged for eternal judgment. They have never come alive until this point, or they're not actually alive because you can't be alive without Christ. Christ is what makes us alive. We are made in him, we have life. There is no life without him. So at the end of the 1,000-year period, previous to the 1,000-year period, there's a resurrection of the dead, not a translation or a rapture, but there is a resurrection from the dead, and those who were beheaded for their testimony because they would not receive the mark of the beast, very specific group of people. They would not receive the mark of the beast, were beheaded and killed. They are then resurrected. Okay? Then comes the 1,000-year reign, and then comes the next resurrection after Satan is released from his prison. He deceives the nations. Then he is thrown into the eternal fire and judged eternally, day and night. There is no more release for him, no more deceiving of the nations from him. And then comes the judgment of the dead. Okay, so I think we can put to rest any argument about multiple resurrections. There obviously is. There obviously is also multiple raptures. Not only do we have Enoch and Elijah being raptured alive into the heavenlies, we also have the rapture of resurrection and rapture of the saints after Christ during his death and resurrection. And we also have the rapture of the bride, those who are alive, because the bride must be alive, a living entity, not dead, because there is no marriage in heaven for the resurrection. For those who are resurrected, there is no marriage. It has to be a living entity. Otherwise, the contract of marriage is broken because death makes marriage null and void, basically. A widow is a widow and the marriage contract is broken. Okay? Or widower, depending on who's being released. Okay. So, anyway, I just thought I'd let you ponder those things and look it up for yourself. I really, again, really highly recommend you look up the Book of Nicodemus. You can read it online. It really does have a tremendous amount of information there for anyone who's interested in these subjects. But anyway, I just hope you have a blessed day, and God bless you all, and I'll see you all one day soon, I'm sure in the rapture of the church.